Very good morning to everyone. Friends, let me very briefly introduce myself first, and then we will start the program. Okay. I suppose Madam Monica is looking after this program, technical support. Monica, are you able to listen to me? Hello, Monica. Am I audible? Am I audible to the participants?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes.
Okay. And my PPTs are also visible to all of you, है ना?
हाँ जी सर,
Yes,
visible.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Friends, okay, thank you. Thank you for your feedback now. Thank you. Friends, let me very briefly introduce myself. I am Professor Pramod Kumar Singla. I am basically a civil engineer from Thapar Engineering College, and I have over 38 years of experience working in this institute. And I did my master's from Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh, in irrigation and hydraulics. And prior to joining this department, I was working in the Department of Curriculum Development Center for a pretty long time. And also in the Department of Rural Development. That was my first appointment in this institute. And prior to this institute, I worked for 1.5 years in Punjab Irrigation Department also. I have a lot of interest in the areas of soft skills. And as all of you know, communication skills are the mother of all the soft skills. All the soft skills largely, depend on how good you are in the communication skills. And to be a good leader, as the program title suggests, leadership, motivation, and decision making. For a good leader, his or her, whosoever is the leader, his or her communication skills have to be very, very effective. And when we talk about effective communication, we are all communicating anyway, yes. And we will talk a little bit more details about the communication. And I will be in my presentations here, try to share some of the videos also. Some of the videos and some lot of course, slides. And we will have discussions also. And I normally try to have a lot of interactive sessions in my programs. In this session also, we will try to have a lot of interactions. So if you have any good experience to share with your fellow colleagues, fellow participants, please do not hesitate to share that also. ये थोड़ा धुंधली क्यों आ रही है तस्वीर? Yeah, no, I think it's better. है ना कुछ वो because of winter, some fog was there. Okay. Anyway, so at the very outset, let me share with you some of the quotes by famous people about communication. Usually I do 5-day program only on communication skills. And I have written 3 books also on communication skills, especially for the engineering students, for polytechnic as well as engineering students, BTech and diploma holders. And in this institute, I have developed a lab also, communication skills lab in this institute, where we do these programs here. But nevertheless, this hour and a half approximately with me, we will try to understand some of the basics about communications so that our communication becomes effective. Communication की basic परिभाषा क्या है? I understand some of the participants are from the south, so I will not largely speak in Hindi. I will largely keep my language of delivery mode in English only. What is the definition of the concept? And what is the process and what are the barriers? We will talk in details about this. And also, we will try to see how we can be an effective communicator. As teachers, you have a role. As a teachers, you have a role. Especially in the classroom communication, you are already communicating. Yes, in the classrooms, you are communicating. Every person in every profession play some leadership roles. For example, you are the leader of your class when it comes to your subject delivery. The HOD becomes the leader of the department when he is leading the department. Your director or principal is leader at the institutional level. At the classroom level, you are the leader. So everyone, starting from let us say in our institute, for example, the person who is at the gate, he is leading the security at the gate. Yes, everybody, and his communication important is very important because he is the first person who is going to interact with the outsiders as well as the insiders. So how he behaves reflects largely on our institute culture also. See the significance of the communication. You just have to be at the gate, and our guard, our security person in charge, he interacts with you. His behavior, his verbal and non-verbal communications with the strangers or with the non-persons also matters a lot. Two, from the security person to the director, everyone is playing some leadership roles, and he or she has to take certain decisions. And depending on the data available, depending on the information available, he or she will be effective leadership, playing effective leadership roles. Yes, and to collect the data and to communicate with the people is one of the most important aspects in the leadership. My dear friends, I would like to have one volunteer to make the session more interesting and interactive from the audience who will like to read the slides with me. Yes, I am sharing one slide here. Who is going to volunteer from the audience can unmute very quickly, please. I have 4 quotes which I want somebody from you should be able to read it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
गुरमीत कौर
जी
जी, आप कहाँ से हैं मैम?
सर फ्रॉम होशियारपुर पंजाब.
Okay, Gurmeet ji, what subject you are teaching?
Sir, right now I am a research scholar in
Okay,
education
okay,
department.
okay. Ma'am, can you read this slide for all of us? This quote by
Yes,
Peter
sir.
Drucker.
जी sir. The most important thing in communication is hearing what is not said.
The most important thing in communication is hearing. What isn't?
Said.
What does it mean?
Sir, we need to also understand the body language of the person, because communication is not always what we listen. It is always in silence.
So, Peter Drucker in this quote is trying to say 2 things. Number 1, the words, जो शब्द हैं, शब्द जो हम बोल रहे हैं या हम लिख रहे हैं, they comprise of verbal communication. Verbal communication is whatever you say through your mouth, orally, or you are writing. जब हम शब्दों का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, जब हम लैंग्वेज का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, whenever we use the language, that is your verbal communication. And there are so many things which are not said. The intonation, किस टोन में बोला गया, वो शब्द नहीं है, but in what tone those has been spoken. Yes, when you understand that. And also your body language. And in the words also, there are 2 very important things. In the verbal communication, there are 2 very important things. We usually say, am I being heard loud and clear? Heard means आपके कानों तक my voice or my writing is reaching you, your eyes or your ears. Am I being heard loud and clear? This is one aspect of the communication. The second most important aspect is hearing is okay. There is difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is from the ears and listening is from the mind. When you apply your mind, when you understand what is you being heard, and then that is basically listening. So communication is not only hearing, but also what you are not able to hear, the tone, the body language, and the spirit behind those words. The spirit behind those words. Words are something, I say certain things, and you perceive. Perception is the key word. Whatever I am saying, how you are perceiving me, is that maybe there can be some gap between the two. Yes or no? There can always be some communication gap. मैंने कुछ कहा, आपने कुछ और समझा. Because of some ABC reason, there can be certain barriers. We will talk about those barriers also in this communication. So the communication will not be effective because I wanted to say something, आपने कुछ और समझ लिया. You have understood in a different way. Or you want to say something, I am misinterpreting it. When the perceptional gap between the sender and the receiver is minimal or no gap, that is the effective communication. Yes? लेटर तो आपको समझ में आ रहे हैं, लेकिन उसकी जो परसेप्शन है, उसकी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, वो आपने अपने हिसाब से इंटरप्रेट करी. यू हैव इंटरप्रेटेड द वर्ड्स इन अ डिफरेंट वे. सो लेटर एंड स्पिरिट, हैव यू अंडरस्टूड मी इन लेटर एंड स्पिरिट? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Understood.
So this is a very important quote by Peter Drucker, who is the management guru in the world. His books are available almost all the book racks wherever you go. I mean, if you go to a railway station or bus stand or any bookshop, you will find the books written by Peter Drucker. And he said that the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. जो नहीं कहा गया, आप उसको भी समझ रहे हैं, उसकी स्पिरिट को समझ रहे हैं. Okay, you are not after the words only. And the second quote, Gurmeet ji, is again
Yes, sir.
by one of my very favorite authors, is GB Shah. He said,
The problem with communication is the illusion that it has been accomplished.
हम लोग हमेशा इस illusion में रहते हैं कि मैंने बोल दिया. I have spoken something or I have written something and you have understood. I remain in the illusion that my students or to whomsoever I am addressing, they have understood in the letter and spirit in which I have said. This is an illusion only. There will always be a gap, communication gap between what I am trying to say and what you are understanding. That gap can be minimized if you are paying a lot of attention to your communication. That's the purpose of this whole session also. There will always be some gap. Those misunderstandings, the gaps can be minimized. And my dear friends, 9 out of 10 problems in this world are due to those communication gaps. आप देखें, छोटे बच्चे लड़ रहे होते हैं आपस में. The small children are quarreling. What is the issue? It's only a communication gap. Even when we grow up, it is difficult to reconcile, but the gap keeps on increasing between the husband and wives, between the siblings, between the parents and children, generation gap, whatever gap we may call it. But ultimately, if you analyze it, it boils down to communication gap. Even in the offices, you have said something, your boss has misunderstood it, or you have said something, your subordinate has misunderstood it, or your colleague has misunderstood it. So all those things, and you remain in an illusion that मैंने तो ठीक कहा था, मेरे मन में कोई ऐसी बात नहीं. मन के अंदर ही ना वो गया, उसको तो शब्द गए. He has not entered into your heart what you wanted to say, but he has heard and interpreted in his own way. This is what GB Shah mentioned, that the problem with communication is the illusion that it has been accomplished. In order to bridge that gap, one of the basic thing is, when you communicate something, maybe orally, maybe in written, or maybe by your body language, try to get a feedback whether the other person has understood in the letter and spirit or not. Try to get a feedback, perception. Keep asking this question very often, that am I being understood? Am I being heard? Am I being listened to? And can you rephrase what I have said just now? Okay. So over to Gurmeet again for the next slide here.
Yes, sir. Half the world is composed of people who have something to say and can't, and the other half who have nothing to say and keep on saying it, by Robert Frost. Robert Frost is one of my favorites, sir.
He's also one of my very, very favorite English literature में इनका बड़ा नाम है Robert Frost का. He said half of the people in the world are composed of people who have something to say they have no communication skill. They are not able to communicate. And the other half, who have nothing to say, and they keep on. It's very funny quote, but it's very very meaningful. Your communication is very important. How you communicate, what language you use, what tone, what pitch, what volume, the voice modulation, everything is important. But along with it, what Robert Frost is trying to say here is the content. We cannot discount on the content. We have to have something to say. If you do not have something to say, do not say. Say here means not only by speaking, but by writing also. Sometimes I do not know something on a topic. So if I keep on saying, I will be fooling myself. I will be fooling myself in front of and exposing myself to the other people also. मार्क ट्वेन की एक कोट है, मैं उसको बाद में कभी बात करेंगे इसके बारे में. मार्क ट्वेन सेड दैट इफ यू डू नॉट नो, let people have a confusion or an illusion whether you know or do not know. You be quiet. You do not know about a subject. I am quiet. Okay, I am not speaking about that. So people have an illusion whether I know or I do not know. So Mark Twain said, if you do not know, keep quiet, keep your mouth shut. The word which he used were, keep your mouth shut and let people have a illusion whether you know or do not know. Then open your mouth and remove the illusions. और आपने मुंह खोला नहीं तो आपने उनका ये जो illusion था वो दूर कर दिया कि मेरे को नहीं पता. Okay, I mean, these people from literature say wonderful things and they become guidelines to us how we can be effective communicator. You must have good contents as well as you must have a good delivery to communicate to the people. This is what Robert Frost is trying to say. And the last quote, ma'am, is?
Yes, sir, I'm there. Good communication is as stimulating as black coffee and just as hard to sleep after.
A good communication is as stimulating as black coffee and just as hard to sleep after. The purpose of communication is to express your feelings, your opinions, sharing them with others. It is like food, we cannot remain without food, maybe for 1 day or 2 days, for a week. Maybe, food includes your water also. We cannot live without oxygen also. Yes, हमने देखा अभी कोविड में भी कि ऑक्सीजन कितनी इंपॉर्टेंट है. और otherwise also, you hold your breath. For how long you will be able to hold your breath? You require oxygen. And similarly, my dear friends, as much as your food and air is important, communication is important for living. If I give you a minute without letting you to communicate, you won't be able to do that. Let us do this small exercise with all of you. Yes, let us whether you want to close your eyes, whether you want to keep your eyes open, I am going to give you 1 minute time or less than 1 minute. Approximately 1 minute. I'm not going to use my, चलो okay, मेरे पास watch भी है आज तो मैं घड़ी use कर सकता हूँ. You are not allowed to communicate, and one condition is that you will not communicate to yourself also. The maximum amount of communication takes place between I, me and myself. मैं अपने साथ ही communicate कर रहा होता हूँ. Yes, before we communicate to others, I communicate to myself. So in this 1 minute, you all promise me that you will not communicate even with I, me and myself. Okay. So we start with 1 minute. Okay. And see whether you are successful or no. Yes. How many of you were not communicating?
Sir, I was not communicating.
You were not communicating to yourself anything. आप wait नहीं कर रहे थे कि भी 1 मिनट होने वाला है या कि whatever thoughts was going on in your mind.
Actually, sir,
नहीं, yeah, many of you were saying to yourself कि I am not going to communicate.
no, sir. Actually, I do it, on a daily basis. At least
Okay,
10 minutes, I just keep quiet and I don't allow any thoughts to come in. और वो
okay,
simply मैं इसलिए करती हूँ just to, when we do this, we energize ourselves more.
okay. So you are doing a lot of meditation. I am also 7-time national champion in yoga, and I do meditation every day. But in that meditation also, there is always a communion. We call it communion between me and him. वो मेरे और परमात्मा के बीच में जो communion चलती रहती है वो चलती है. And my dear friends, I let you know, even if you are communicating, बिल्कुल आप thoughtless भी हो जाएं यदि, but very very difficult though, your brain still works to run your internal systems that continues to communicate your organs, that your lungs, your kidneys, your other functions, that communication is continuously, silently or audibly. Many times it's very very difficult. What I'm trying to say, only thing is that it is almost impossible not to communicate. And as effective leaders, as effective communicators, we should be conscious of the process of communication, what are the barriers in the communication, and what the communication can do. I think before I go to my major presentation, ये मैंने स्लाइडें कवर कर दी हैं mostly, but nevertheless, इसके definition के बाद we will have a small video, okay, just to emphasize certain things. You can just have a look at these slides, and just communication is basically, the purpose of communication is mutual understanding. Whatever I am feeling, I am expressing through my words or through my body language, so that we mutually understand between you or between the other person, or maybe number of persons at a time, for the mutual understanding. But because of the gap in communication, because of lack of effective communication, instead of having mutual understanding, we have mutual misunderstandings. Mutual, I am not so much concerned about the understanding. I am more concerned about that I should not be misunderstood if you are not effective communicator. The very purpose is to mutually understand each other. Exchange of ideas, messages, information, speech, signals, and writings. We understand it very well. Very, very simple, basic things. Influence another's behavior, attitudes, and understanding. We try to influence, especially as teachers, we try to change the behavior of a student, their understanding level. Okay, about the significance of communication, 75% time in most of the organizations is being spent on communication. 75% of the time. If you look at it very carefully, it's not my data, but then it is a data which has been collected by the experts in the area of interpersonal relations and communication. So it is occupying. जब आपके पास कोई notice आता है, कुछ भी आता है, तो the person who are preparing those notices, when you are communicating in the classroom, you go to any organization. So one of the very important things, leadership. Leadership is leading somebody, and how he or she can lead without having any communications. Leader का तो 90%, 75 on an average, क्लासरूम में आपके टीचर्स का प्रोफेशन ऐसा है कि जहां पे 80%, 90% time goes in the interpersonal relation between the student and teachers and communication, of course. Okay. And that is one of the reasons that when the organizations come to your campuses for the placement of the student, because they know that when they will be placed in the industry, 75% of the time is going to be spent in communicating. You are presenting, you are customer to somebody, you are supplier to somebody, within the organization or outside the organization. So you are communicating. So they want to make sure that your students are having good communication skills. And effective communication का सबसे important role self के ऊपर है. If I am a good communicator, hopefully my children, my students, people who interact with me try to gather communication skills. And as teachers, all of us have that responsibility. Whatever I'm communicating is sum total of how I have been communicated by my parents, my brothers, my sisters, my uncles, and largely by my teachers, from primary school to the highest level of your schooling or college. So it becomes a very, very great responsibility. We don't talk much about it. Now, next slide is very important. I want some volunteer to read this slide with me. Who is going to read the slide? Some volunteer from the...
Sir,
Who will do that?
सर जन्म के 2 वर्षों बाद बोलना सीख जाता है और क्या बोलना है ये सीखने के लिए पूरी जिंदगी बीत जाती है.
ओके, somebody is I think किसी और का माइक ऑन है, बीच में कुछ इंटरप्शन थी. आदमी जन्म के 2 वर्ष बाद बोलना सीख जाता है, पर क्या बोलना है यह बोलने के सीखने के लिए पूरी जिंदगी. This is very important slide. Approximately 1 year to 2 years time, most of us learn how to speak. But क्या बोलना है, how to communicate, what to communicate, when to communicate, why to communicate, all those aspects are covered in क्या बोलना है. Our whole age goes in that. And I am going to give you one formula here. Before you speak, think. Before you speak, think. Because once you have spoken, or once you have written, when I am saying speaking, it includes written communication also, verbal communication also. It has gone. It is in the air now. Then you will not get chance to say sorry, because the other person has already got that. He has or she has already received that, or more than one people have received that. जो अखबारों में छप गया एक बार, corrigendum आ जाता है उसका. But very rarely we get chance to correct what we have already spoke. Then you say कि मेरा ये मतलब नहीं था, मेरा ये नहीं था. Whatever you may say, people will not forget your words. हम कहते हैं हिंदी में, कमान से निकला हुआ तीर वापस आ सकता है. कमान से निकला हुआ, the arrow which is shooted from the bow may come back. बट ए वर्ड, जो शब्द हैं वो मुंह से निकले हुए वापस, जो आपने लिख दिया एक बार वो वापस नहीं. You may get a chance to do certain things and all. So be sure that you be a good speaker, a good writer, and think. 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 How many words, letters are there in this word? 1 2 3 4 5. इसको याद कर लीजिए. Think whether whatever you are saying or you are writing, is it true or no. Make sure that you speak truth, or you write to the best of your ability. Make sure that it is a truth. Why it is so important? Because let's say if I say something here in this class, as I am talking to all of you, and it is not true, and you come to know that it is not true, what can happen? What will happen? You will have a mistrust. सिंगला साहब आते हैं क्लास में, उनकी बातों का भरोसा नहीं किया जा सकता. We cannot trust him or her because आपने एक बार, 2 बार, 3 बार, you have not made sure that whatever I am going to say is true or no, and people then lose trust. And once you lose the trust of the other person, it is very, very difficult to regain that trust. In the process of communication, your trust is most important. One of the most important thing is your trust. So once you trust a person, then the whole mechanism of communication becomes very, very easy. You don't have to communicate at all. You don't have to communicate at all. Even your silence will be listened by the other people because they trust you. They trust you. So make sure that the T in think stands for true, and H stands for whatever I am saying, or whatever I am writing, whatever I am communicating, is it being helpful to the people? If it is not helpful, do not communicate. Okay. And then I stands for whatever I am saying or writing or communicating, is it inspiring people to take certain actions? If it is not inspiring, think about it. Think about it. How should I present that it inspire other people? Should I say, should I write, or should I play a role? In pedagogy, we say we have to develop the cognitive abilities, we have to develop psychomotor abilities, and we have to develop the affective domain attitudes. Attitudes develop करने का एक ही golden principle है that you have to play that role. If you want people to be honest, be honest. If you want people to be punctual, be punctual. Whatever attitudes you want people to develop, for that you don't have to say anything. You don't have to write anything. मैं यहाँ पे लिख दूँ punctuality and मैं 15 मिनट खुद से लेट आ रहा हूँ. It has no meaning. The words जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ या लिख रहा हूँ has no meaning unless I am playing that role. So you have to inspire people to take certain actions. Sometimes the words are required, sometimes silence, your actions. So think about it, whether it is inspiring, and N stands for whether it is necessary. Many times we keep on saying, we keep on writing things which are not necessary. Many times. Please, when you next time communicate, if you try to observe these 5 letters very carefully, you will definitely improve your communication skills. Think whether it is necessary. मेरा इसमें बोलना जरूरी है कि नहीं जरूरी. If you recall your your elders, especially the male members in the family, many times they were silent on certain things. Let the course of time, at a very, very appropriate, very, very less, with a very, very few words, that reminds me, the soul of communication lies in brevity. The soul of communication lies in brevity. Brevity means being brief. And my no session on communication is completed if I do not quote my teacher who inspired me to read the subject on communication and English literature or other literature, is Professor Kuldeep Jatka, who retired from DAV College, Chandigarh. And we later on wrote 3 books together also. He's a man from literature and from the communications. Far excellent. He remembers whole dictionary. You ask any word, he remembers almost by heart, verbatim, most of the poems and the dialogues of the major dramas also. An excellent person, lives here in Sector 18, very humble character. He said, coming to the brevity, if you can say what you want to say, जो आप कहना चाहते हैं, if you want to say what you want to say, and if you can say that in a sentence, do not use paragraph. पैराग्राफ समझते हैं, इतनी बड़ी प्रोज की जरूरत नहीं है. एक सेंटेंस में यदि आप कह सकते हैं तो उसको एक सेंटेंस में कहिए. And if you can say the same thing in a phrase, do not say it in a sentence. Yes? Phrase is a part of a paragraph made of one word or more than one words. And if you can say that same thing in a word, not even a phrase, do not use phrase. And if you can say that being silent, do not say. Isn't it so important in communication? So beautiful. Jadka Sahab has given me these guidelines. Many times we keep on saying, necessary nahi hai. Give the other person space. Give the other person time. Sometimes the other person is communicating to you so that he or she wants to just share that information. He doesn't seek your advice on this. He doesn't seek your ideas on this, your opinions on this. Just be a good listener. And sometimes, if you have said something and the other person is taking time, give him or her time to process that information. These are very, very important things. So N stands for necessary. It is not necessary always that I must say something, I must write something, I must communicate something. But when it is necessary, then you must communicate effectively. And the last one, the K is the most important thing. Stands for the most important thing in communication is, are you being kind in your communication? Yes. Can anybody from the people who are joining online find a opposite word to kindness in context with communication? If I am not being kind, what I will be? Can
Sir, I'll
anybody?
be rude.
Yeah. Gurmeet ma'am, you have said very rightly, rude. Rudeness has to be totally ruled out in your communication. Think whether are you being kind, whether you are senior or you are a junior, whether you are father or you are a son, whether you are a grandfather or you are a grandson, whether you are a brother or a sister or a colleague or a boss, you are not permitted to be rude. You are
सर
not.
न्यूट्रल भी तो हो सकता है.
Neutral is okay. Neutral is all perfectly fine. You have to be kind. इसका एक litmus test है. When I am talking to the people as a leader in my classroom, एक litmus test है. Sometimes we do not know whether I am being kind or whether I am being rude or no. Sometimes आपने तो बड़ा अच्छे से बोला, but other person thought that you are being rude. Yes, it happens many times with us also. इसका एक लिटमस टेस्ट है. लिटमस टेस्ट क्या है? इफ यू आर कम्युनिकेटिंग समथिंग टू द पीपल, think about it. Again, the title of the slide is, before you speak, think about it. If the other person, anybody, have communicated the same thing in the same letter, spirit and body language, the same tone, how would you take it? यदि मेरे से किसी ने इस लहजे में, इन शब्दों में इस तरह से बात करी होती, तो मेरे को कैसे? Put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Put yourself in the shoes of, we call it empathy. So if you are able to do that, if you are able to exercise the empathy, it starts with the communication. If you empathize, if you know कि मेरे को यदि ऐसे बोला गया होता, तो how would I felt it? यदि मेरे को मेरे फादर ने ऐसे बोला होता, मेरे टीचर ने ऐसे बोला होता, या मेरे स्टूडेंट ने ऐसे बोला होता एज ए टीचर, या मेरे बेटे ने ऐसे बोला होता, माय डॉटर हैज स्पोकन, और माय फेलो ड्राइवर ऑन द रोड साइड वुड हैव स्पोकन टू मी, लाइक हाउ वुड आई फेल्ट इट? राइट और रॉन्ग इज समथिंग एल्स. I'm not talking about whether, even if you are right, that does not give you permission to be rude. स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड होना तो सबसे पहले वाला है, ट्रू. स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड मीन्स कि आपकी बेस्ट एबिलिटी से आप ट्रू है, तो यू आर बीइंग स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड टू दैट. आई एम सेइंग हाउ यू आर communicating, is it being test is that, think, am I being not rude? If you are feeling that you are being rude, please, we have to do something on our. It is not a one-time exercise. It is a constant watch on your body language, on your tone, and on the words which you are using. Yes, and वो सब कुछ, इन सब का लिए एक गुरु मंत्र है जो कि जादका साहब ने मेरे को दिया. Again, you will never be rude if you love the persons to whom you are communicating from your heart. आप यदि एनिमल को भी अपने दिल से प्यार करें तो he will not react to you. यदि आप समझ रहे हैं, रिएक्शन एंड रिस्पॉन्स की बात हो रही है कम्युनिकेशन में, ये एक बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है. वी शुड कन्वर्ट अवर ऑल रिएक्शंस टू रिस्पॉन्सेज. यदि आपके दिल में प्यार है, इवन इफ यू हैव यूज सम रॉन्ग लैंग्वेज, ही और शी विल नॉट टेक इट इन ए नेगेटिव वे, but make sure that you really love and the other person feel your love. I can give you one small example here. I have some of my very old class fellows who give me phone calls sometimes. स्कूल टाइम के भी हैं, कॉलेज टाइम के भी हैं. वो हेलो नहीं करते फोन के ऊपर, पहले गाली निकालते हैं एक, फिर पूछते हैं कि हाउ आर यू डूइंग, की हाल है, यस और नो. एंड आई डोंट माइंड इट, though in the words it may sound rude, but then the heart is, I know कि दिल मिले हुए हैं, है ना. एंड यदि वो, मैं किसी को मतलब बुरा है मेरे दिल के अंदर, एंड even if I use kind words, that will work like a जैसे हम कहते हैं ना मीठी मिर्च, वो that will be coated, कोट करते हैं ना, एक कोई टेबलेट है वो बिटर है, हम उसको कोट लगा देते हैं उसके ऊपर ताकि बिटर मुंह में ना टेस्ट लगे. प्लीज, इवन इफ यू यूज द कोटेड वर्ड्स, जो कोट COAT वाला कोट, यदि आप कोट भी डालते हैं, द अदर पर्सन गेट द मैसेज वेरी वेल. बी श्योर अबाउट इट, एज यू आल्सो गेट इट, अदर पर्सन आल्सो गेट इट. So these are the 5 things which you have to keep in mind to make your communications, all right, true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind. Now before I go to my next slide, I want to ask a question from all of you. There are 2 words when we are communicating, when we are in conversation with other people. One is argument, the other is discussion. Argument and discussion. Can anybody who is online here, or my friends who are sitting right in front of me, tell me the difference between argument and discussion? Argument क्या है और discussion क्या है? What is the difference between argument and discussion?
Sir, in a discussion, we are open to different points of views. So we are, in a way, mentally prepared that there are going to be different point of views. We want to move the conversation into a constructive direction. In an argument, we are going into it with a point of view that I have to win this situation. I have to win it.
Okay. आपका नाम है अदिति, आप कहाँ से हैं मैम?
सर, नवीन चंद्र मेहता इंस्टीट्यूट, दादर, मुंबई.
Okay. नितिन त्रिपाठी जी एंड अविनाश जी, यस, बारी बारी से आप बोलिए. यू हैव रेज योर हैंड. Nitin, you can unmute yourself and say something if you want to say. और अविनाश यादव?
सर नितिन का तो 2 दिन से हाथ खड़ा ही रहता है जी.
ओके छोड़िए. भूपेश जी, यू वांट टू से समथिंग?
नथिंग सर.
ओके. माय फ्रेंड्स इन द क्लासरूम हियर वांट टू से समथिंग. यस, डिस्कशन क्या है? दो लार्जली अदिति ने कहा है, इज वेरी वेरी करेक्ट. एनीवन वांट टू से समथिंग अबाउट इट?
डिस्कशन सर पॉजिटिव होता है, और आर्गुमेंट हमेशा ही सामने वाले को थोड़ा नेगेटिव फीलिंग देता है.
हाँ, before I go to the okay, some friends have written in the message box here. Okay, let me just read the message box here first.
जय हिंद सर.
जी मैम.
सर, डिस्कशन में तो हम अपनी थॉट्स, अपने व्यूज़ पॉजिटिवली शेयर करते हैं, लेकिन आर्ग्यूमेंट में ये होता है कि भाई सामने वाले को तो हराना ही है, हमें कैसे भी करके हम सही.
अंशु जी, आप कहाँ से हैं?
सर, मैं सुब भारती यूनिवर्सिटी मेरठ से बात कर रही हूँ.
ठीक है.
हाँ जी.
ओके मैम, थैंक यू सो मच. Time is very short for me in this session because I have so much to convey to every one of you. But then nevertheless, I believe that whatever little we share with each other should be understood by all of us. And I am getting enriched by your inputs here. Let us understand this definition very well. Are you able to see my slides here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. मैं इसको थोड़ा बड़ा करता हूं. Argument is to find who is right. I am right or you are right. Discussion is to find what is right. So discussion is always welcome. Argument is never ever welcome. In any kind of communication, when the discussion start taking a turn towards the argument, stop. Stop yourself. Sometimes you know that you are right, but then even then you stop. Yes, before the things get worsened, before the communication बंद हो जाती है, communication इतना one of the biggest gap in communication, the cause is when you argue. Argument is not permissible in communication, especially in the classrooms when a student is trying to argue. If you are trying, when he is trying to find what is right, it is okay. When he is trying to find whether you are right or I am right, stop. You have to continuously watch when the things go from what to who. Yes? Debate may, as long as we are trying to find what is right, it is discussion. The moment the debate turns from what to who, it is an argument. Debates are good, but then there is a purpose behind the debate also. But if it is to find out what is right, debates are welcome, discussions are welcome anytime. But very often than not, we enter into an argument. Now I want to share 2-3 things with all of you so that you understand this point very well. As a leader, we cannot afford to argue with our people. We can discuss with them. We cannot argue that I am right. The moment you say I am right, the other person is not listening to you. I can prove it. And I will prove it just now. I'm taking an example. Again, I told you that Professor Kuldeep Jatka ka naam maine aapse share kara. When I was getting married, this thing remained with me, that he said that in communication we should not argue. Argument between husband and wife on any issue. Whosoever is right or wrong does not matter. Do not argue. I try to do that. And my wife also tries to do that. And it is not only between husband and wife, it is between brother and sister also, between colleagues, between boss, between leader, between friends also, in any situation. मैं अभी आपसे एक hypothetical situation ले रहा हूँ. Hypothetical situation है. It has not happened, but then it happens almost every day in our homes. Okay? You will understand this concept very well. And it happens just like that. आपको पता ही नहीं चलता. You do not come to notice of it. Let us suppose that I have to buy a television or a car, whatever you choose. Okay, let us say car. Okay, and we have to buy a car. It is costing a lot of money, and I discuss with my wife that we will like to have a car in the home because of ABC reasons, and we will like to have this car of so and so make, so and so category of car. My wife says, no, we will not have this car, we will have that car. My brother has it, my sister has it. So, and she has her own reasons. I am not saying that I am right. I am not saying that she is right or wrong. Or she may say that this car ka budget mil jayega, hamara budget hai ye, whatever reasons. And I have my own reasons. And during the discussion, we were trying to find which car, what. Slowly and slowly, I am losing my temper and I raise my voice, though she is sitting next to me, and I say again, "Nee, car aayegi to ye aayegi." Now, We are not trying to find out which car, Mary car. And she says कि car आएगी तो ये. Yes. She raises her voice. Ladies, the woman fraternity has a natural gift from God to have a high pitch. It is a biological thing, you know. I can raise my volume, but not pitch. The women do not have to do that. Their pitch is automatically, by the biological science, is pitch is high. That is why, you know, in the when you make the announcements, there are normally ladies' voice because their pitch is very good. And high pitch is a which can reach to the more number of people. One of the reasons is this also. अब क्या हो गया, उसने अपनी पिच बढ़ाई, मैंने अपना वॉल्यूम बढ़ाया, फिर उसने अपनी पिच और बढ़ाई, वॉल्यूम बढ़ाया, मैंने अपना पिच और वॉल्यूम बढ़ाया. We both started. At one stage I stopped listening what car she is asking for. मेरे को तो अपनी कार ही है. She has stopped listening to me what argument I am giving to prove that my car is better than your car. Yes. And both of us stopped listening. Communication has stopped. But believe me, communication did not stop here. My neighbor, Dr. Soni, has been listening to our arguments. The communication which was supposed to be between me and my wife has gone to my neighbor because both of us stopped listening and we raised our voice and pitches and it has gone. And we could not reach to the decision which car, and we slept over it after having an argument. Next day morning, I go outside to pick up the newspaper, and Soni Saab also goes outside to pick up his newspaper. Then he asked me a question, which car you are buying? Are you getting the difference between argument and discussion? It is not that whatever she was saying was right or wrong, whatever I was saying right or the communication has to be between me and my wife, not with Soni Saab, somebody, my father or my son or my. No, you're being heard, you're being listened to, you're a public figure. Anyway, before argument is not permissible, my dear friends. Stop the argument. You have to have a reins in your hand. घोड़े की लगाम में जो reins कहते हैं ना उनको, वो आपके हाथ में होनी चाहिए. You should say that no, it's okay. It's not important. We will not decide it today. We will decide it some other day. Let me gather more data. You also try to get more data. We will come and discuss what car, what television, what thing. मैंने छोटी सी example दी. In the life, there are bigger issues. There are many bigger issues than car or a television or anything. Where you have a feeling that you are right, do not argue. What makes you argument is your ego. You want to say that मेरी वाली car, she wants to say मेरे वाली car. Your ego comes. यदि उसकी कार आ गई तो फिर देखी जाएगी. On the roadside we have these situations. Your ego comes and a situation comes when the communication not about the car only, about other issues in the life also stops. Let that situation do not come, my dear friends. That situation may not come. Communication का gap इतना बढ़ जाता है, you stop listening to the other person that you do not talk. वो अपने कमरे में, मैं अपने कमरे में. मैं आज ड्राइंग रूम में सोऊंगा, मैं आज बिस्तर के उस तरफ सोऊंगा, नीचे सोऊंगा, ये करूंगा, वो करूंगा. You take decisions like that, and the gap keeps on increasing. Physical, emotional, spiritual, all those gaps, mental gaps, keeps on increasing between you and your son, your daughter, your brother, your sister, your colleague, your boss, your class, and anyway, in any situation. And what it takes to say, I am sorry, I did not mean it. Only the ego comes in between. कि मेरी manly ego, मैं क्यों झुकूं? वो कहती है कि woman के equal route है, मैं क्यों झुकूं? Your egos. Just say, okay, I may be wrong. Let us explore more further. Let us have more studies on this. And if you let the ego be out of the conference hall, out of the meeting room, 10 people can discuss and find out what is being right. अदरवाइज 1-to-1 की भी बीच में कम्युनिकेशन गैप हो सकती है. नाउ आई एम गोइंग टू गिव यू one slide in this slide itself, and I want one of you to read this slide for all of us. One of you would like to read for all of us. क्या लिखा है मैंने सेंटर में?
Immature people always want to win arguments, even at the cost of a relationship. Mature ones prefer losing an argument just to uphold a golden relationship.
Choice is yours. Whether you want to win an argument or you want to win a relationship. And Professor Jadka said, even if you argue on a right thing, which you think is the right thing, the first argument you put defeats half the battle. क्वेश्चन ये राइट और रॉन्ग का नहीं है. आपने एक आर्गुमेंट दिया टू प्रूव दैट आई एम राइट, यू हैव ऑलरेडी लॉस्ट हाफ द बैटल, एंड द सेकंड आर्गुमेंट कंप्लीट बैटल. So in any case, you are not winning. Not even the argument, because the other person is not listening. Dr. Soni is listening. The choices are with us. Whether you want to uphold a golden relationship or you want to pamper your false ego. Are you with me on this? बहुत सीरियस बात होगी अभी, है ना? थोड़ी सी एक वीडियो देखिए अपन, to lighten the atmosphere here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you all permit me, a video can be seen here. Okay, I have few videos here. Out of that, I would like to share with you one video. A leader. You are all teachers. I am also a teacher. And a coach in a playground is also a leader. He is also a teacher. Yes? आप सबने एक मूवी देखी है चक दे इंडिया शे से. यस, चक दे इंडिया में शाहरुख खान ने बहुत, I mean many institutions have taken that as a case study and used different scenes in that movie for different purposes, for inspiring people. For this, I am going to share one of the clips in that movie where Shahrukh Khan gives a speech. I have other ones also where he doesn't speak anything. But then I am going to use this because as a leader, when the things were at stake, the finals were going on, and there was 70 minutes available with the players. वो एक YouTube के ऊपर available है. You can watch this speech again also. But let us share it together here in this class. वो 70 minutes. And he gives a speech inspiring people, inspiring his team to do their best. And listen to his words and the way he speaks. Yes? Are we ready for that?
Yes.
And then we will have another video also. Yes. How important the communication is, and with very brief, and your body language, whatever is necessary, whatever is inspiring, whatever is helpful, whatever is being kind, everything, all those fives have been depicted in the speech. And before I come to my concluding part of the presentations here, let me share another video with all of you. Let me give you a little background of that also. You know, I am not here to propagate a particular leader or not leader, rather two speeches. If you all agreed to continue with me another 10 minutes or so, two speeches I will share with you. One speech is by Mahatma Gandhi. If you ask the whole world what Gandhi has given, not to this nation, but to the whole humanity, the very concept of non-violence, the very concept of non-violence, and the truth on which he always stood by. Non-violence का जो concept है, can you believe the whole world is now trying to execute? हम लोग जितनी violence देखते हैं, जितना नुकसान हो रहा है world का, it is because of the violence. It happens in the, हम कहते हैं household violence on the females, or in the streets. Violence should not be. Violence is no way of communicating your anger. Violence is no way of communicating your anger. Even if I was a gulam, यदि मैं उसमें भारत गुलाम था, the country was slave, but that does not give you permission to use violent means to get the freedom. This is what the Gandhi gave. And there is a small speech by Gandhi on non-violence. In that small speech, he not only, as a leader, not only changed the minds of the people who heard him, but people who have not heard him across the borders. And it continues. Its impact continues even today. Let us hear that speech, a small speech on non-violence. Please increase ये इसका volume काफी कम है speech का, so I request all of you to kindly increase the volumes. And I have increased the volume of my speakers here. Okay, here is Gandhi and his wife. So, my dear friends, a small speech of less than 5 minutes has changed the very system of protest against any injustice, not only in India, not only in that time, but in today's times also. Wherever we have violated these small guidelines, its results in front of all of us. He said that they can take my bones, they can break my bones, they can take my body, but they can never take my will. And here the will is that of the masses. Such is a leadership qualities in this very small speech. If you listen to it very academically, you will understand the things very well. Many times we have in communication, when somebody is communicating to you through physical acts. For example, the Britishers used to beat Indians by whatever this thing. And if you react to that, the very communication goes. The very, very communication goes. And in that situation, and you have to have, I mean, it cannot be generalized, of course, but in many, many situations, certain unforeseen results can be avoided. Not only physical blows, but mental blows also, emotional blows. हम कभी कभी आर्गुमेंट में, मैं बारी बारी से वहीं पे आता हूँ कि हम कभी किसी को फिजिकली नहीं भी बीट कर रहे, मेंटली और इमोशनली और स्पिरिचुअली बीट कर रहे हैं. Those are also violences. Those are also violence. And if you react to that, instead of responding to that, what Gandhiji was trying to say was a response. If you react to that in an argument, your communication is not reaching. In any case, be sure about it. It is reaching to China. Pakistan और हिंदुस्तान की लड़ाई हो रही है. Who is taking benefit out of it? Somebody, Sony साहब ले रहे हैं benefit उसका मजे. So ऐसा it is happening in the nation level. It's happening in the all levels. Okay, friends, this is something which I wanted to share. It is matter of only a perspective. Are you able to see my slides? मैं इसको presentation mode पे कर दूं my friends के लिए. Entire screen के ऊपर. And then we will conclude the session, maybe after 1 or 2 more slides. आर्गुमेंट और डिस्कशन की बात कर रहे थे हम लोग, वायलेंस एंड नॉन वायलेंस की, लीडरशिप की कम्युनिकेशन कैसी होनी चाहिए, उसकी बॉडी लैंग्वेज. यू हैव सीन 2 वीडियोस. आई हैव नंबर ऑफ वीडियोस. आई हैव मोर देन 500 स्पीचेस बाय ग्रेट men in the world. Sometimes I use in a different context. It is a matter of only perspective. From your side, it appears to be a 6. From the other side, it appears to be a 9. Argument is to find who is right, and discussion is to find. It does not matter really. Perspective है अपना अपना. Yes, and perception is the most important thing in communication. And if you are able to bring home your perspective to the other person, you are a good communicator, you are a good leader, or you are a failure. Even if you have everything to say, you do not have the right kind of communication, it will not result into desired results. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. मेरे को बहुत ब्यूटीफुल लगी. मैंने ये वाली स्लाइड इसलिए डाली इसके बाद, मेनी टाइम्स यू फील सक्ड. सक्ड समझते हैं? जब हम वैक्यूम लगाते हैं ना, वो सक्शन इफेक्ट होता है ना. यू ऑल इंजीनियर्स अंडरस्टैंड वेरी वेल फ्रॉम पॉलिटेक्निक्स एंड इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेजेस. तो वो सब कुछ सक करता है. Sometimes you are being sucked into an argument. So other person is trying to provoke you. Like the Britishers used to provoke Indians to attack or say something or do something. Even, I repent really whenever I think about it. When I was young father, I hit my son sometimes. But I really repent today. I was being sucked into that kind of a situation when he's not eating food and he's getting unwell and all. So I thought that violence is all right. इसको एक मार थप्पड़ लगाने से ठीक हो जाएगा या ये हो जाएगा. No, it is not right. It was never right. And today he is professor in IIT Roorkee. I tell him that I did a wrong. I was not a very good father to you. For sometimes I was reacting too much. I thought that I am the right person and this is the right thing to do. But this was not a right thing to do. At that situation, it seemed to be right thing to do. Yes or no? However, I repent today. My own consciousness still tells me that I was not right. Though he has told me number of times, whenever I talk to him today, that Papa, because of those harsh words and sometimes you have slapped me, I am a professor in IIT. I could do IIT Kanpur and I do postdoctor in Dublin and this and that. I said, no. All those things would have been done in a better way. If I have communicated to you in a better way as a father, as a teacher, as a colleague, there are better ways of communicating. But I chose to be an easier way. Sometimes you are sucked into an argument, but you don't have to attend to it. You say, I am not a copy to it. Yes, you cannot write anything on me. Argue well on the side of what is right is not personally. If you have to argue well on the side of what is right, not personally. अभी आपका क्वेश्चन था एक डिबेट एंड उसमें आपका क्वेश्चन था, दिस इज बीइंग आंसर्ड इन दिस कोट. If you have to argue on the side of the right, do it very well. Not by physical means, not by being unkind, not by being rude, so that you can argue and that argument becomes a discussion only. Try to find out. Here again, it is trying to convert the argument into a discussion only. इसमें ये कोट है. I would like to request somebody to read this quote and then we will close this session. Who would like to read this quote in the picture here?
Sir, yes, sir, if you allow
Yes,
me.
yes, Gurmeet ji, aap boliye, please. Argue well.
Sir, it is incredibly important to remember that in any argument, it's not you against the other person. Rather, it's you and the other person against the issue. Separate the human from the problem.
Yes. You have killed the argument when you are able to separate the person, you or the other person. Both of you are trying to find out which car, which television, which thing, what to do, what not to do. So you can do that in this argument. Well, friends, I will be failing in my responsibility if I do not share with you one last thing. That is the barriers in communication. There can be different barriers in communication. Communication is a tool. It is a way. It facilitates to express, not to impress. It only to express whatever is inside you, you are able to express. And it is a way. चाहे वो शब्द हैं, चाहे वो लिखने में, चाहे बोलने में है, चाहे आपकी body language है. But many times there are certain barriers, obstacles which happens, and if you are not conscious of them, your communication can fail. It can create barriers. It can create gaps. Physical barriers, for example, यदि अभी ये network खत्म हो जाए तो I will not be able to reach my audience, 190 plus audience, and if I am not speaking loudly enough or my slides are not visible, That is why in the beginning I checked कि slide हाई दे रही हैं, constantly feedback भी लेने की कोशिश करी हमने. Physical barriers can be many. Something is distracting us. Something is happening outside. अभी चाय वाला आएगा बाहर तो वो नॉइस करेगा कप्पों की, तो आपका ध्यान उधर चला जाएगा. So those are physical barriers. And then there are certain psychological barriers which are stronger than your physical barrier. आपको लगता है कि प्रोफेसर साहब तो सिविल इंजीनियरिंग के, हमारे को कम्युनिकेशन स्किल क्या पढ़ाएंगे, ये क्या है, वो क्या है, ये छोटी सी बच्ची है मेरी, my daughter, what she will tell. Believe me, I have been educated more by my children than I have educated them when they were children. Believe me on this. When they were children, they were telling me, पापा आपकी जनरेशन में ऐसा हो रहा है, ऐसे ऐसा चलता है, ऐसा चलता है, ऐसा होता है. ये I was dead against this mobile phone, but my daughter told me once, long back, that you will not be able to survive without it. Your efficiency in the workplace will be awfully affected if you do not switch over to this instrument. And today I realize it. As I'm talking to you, my next week program, some of the participants are finding difficulty and I am receiving their message and sending them. Immediately I sending the links and all. There are so many, every technology has its own. What I'm trying to say is psychological barrier था एक. We have to break those barriers. Psychological barrier, prejudice अपना माइंड हो गया कि इसने जो कहना है गलत कहना है, ये तो हमेशा मेरे लिए नेगेटिव ही होने वाला है. We have those prejudices against our bosses, against our family members, our friends, our policemen, for the politicians. No, every politician, every bureaucrat, every police, boss is not a bad thing all the time. He may be right. तो प्रेजिडिस, वो साइकोलॉजिकल बैरियर हमारे दिमाग में बन जाते हैं कि ये पॉलिटिशियन जो बोल रहा है झूठ ही बोल रहा है. नो, ऐसा नहीं है. He may be right in certain things. He has his own limitations anyway. Then there are certain physiological barriers. Physiological barriers means कि अभी मैंने आपको 1.5 घंटा भाषण दिया, अब आपको बैठने में दिक्कत हो रही है, कंटिन्यूस लिसनिंग में प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, आपके पेट में दर्द हो रहा है सुबह से. आई एम फोर्सिंग यू टू सिट डाउन हियर. Physiological barriers that they are not permitting the right kind of communication to take place. Yes. Then there can be semantic barriers which are language के barrier हो सकती हैं. मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि मैंने जो बोला आपको मेरी language समझ में आ रही है. My friends in South India must be cursing me that in between I was using Hindi and Punjabi also, but I was trying, I was being conscious of that. That is why I asked Sunil that knowing your audience is the most important thing in communication, one of the most important thing, and being in context is one of the important things. Thank you, my dear friends. And if there is any questions from your side, my friends in the audience, they can ask me the questions.